This podcast featuring pianist Chaerin Kim on the Classical Station is a production of WCPE, 89.7 FM in Wake Forest, North Carolina. I'm Elizabeth Elliott. Thanks for listening. You can help us to continue bringing you these podcasts by becoming a member of the Classical Station. In this podcast, Rob Kennedy speaks with pianist Chaerin Kim.
Tell us about your education and how you went on to two very distinguished schools for your postgraduate studies.
I, in fact, graduated from 4 universities, 2 in U.S., 1 from South Korea, and 1 from UK. All of them were wonderful, and I'm very grateful to those educators who educated me from those schools. But Yale and Royal Academy of Music, without their special education programs, I probably wouldn't be here. I think everything starts from solid foundation. I was very fortunate and blessed to start with prep school, like Juilliard Prep School. In Korea, there is Ye1, School of Arts, and K1. So I graduated from those middle school and high school. They became very good, solid foundation for my music education. So I think I could continue easily, smoothly my musical journey to those schools. And after graduating from Royal Academy of Music in London, it wasn't that hard continuing study because once you work so hard, you give your everything. In 2 years of lifetime, which I did in London, Royal Academy of Music, things became not so hard. It was rather easier side. So I could move to U.S. and continue the other schools' education systems.
Tell us about your early years and who you studied with and what made you want to play the harp.
I started piano when I was 6 years old. I also studied violin, cello, viola, and harp. I switched when I was 16 or 17 years old. One day I saw a harp concert, and I felt I want to play the harp. So I told my parents, who were my first teachers. They supported me a lot. They loved my music, even though they were not musicians. In fact, my dad is medical doctor. My mom is an artist. They both said, well, you are a piano major. As a middle school and high school student, why do you want to do the harp at this late stage? I said, I fell in love with this instrument. I want to study this instrument. I know I cannot even play a major scale, but please support me. I will make my journey. They trusted me and they helped me. So in my high school years, they opened a harp department. They supported me. There were some teachers that they said, you should continue piano. I knew I wanted to study harp as well, so I switched that. And within a year and a half, I entered to university, one of very good university in Korea, as a harp major. And my first teacher that I owe a lot was Hasan Kim from Korea. She was a piano teacher. She was wonderful because she went to early morning prayer as a Presbyterian church. She went to prayer every morning praying for my talent that will be continued. And somehow her heart, her love changed my life to be continued, I guess.
That's a beautiful story. You've won many competitions, and I'd love if you could tell our listeners, winning the Russian International Harp Competition, what a marvelous success that was. Tell us about that.
I won a special prize that was the winner of the best performance in Russian music from the international competition in Russia, Veradulova. I remember the particular piece was The Lark. That's one of track from my album. I won about 12 international and national prizes and awards, I believe, 11 or 12, and recently got nominated as a finalist of the Future Classic Women Awards from the London radio station. I think most of competitions, awards, and prizes, they definitely motivate me, especially the Russian one. Getting the special prize as the best performance of their country music. Even though I was South Korean born, I became a U.S. citizen. It was a very touching moment for me. It felt like life-changing. I loved always Russian music composers. I mean, I love all the composers. They are nationalism composers like Rachmaninoff. Those composers' music really is one of my favorite repertoire also. So that was very touching. For me, as a musician, as a big picture, competition only motivates me, whether I get accepted and ending up getting prize or even I fail. When I was younger, there were times I would go when I was 10 or 11, and first round, I think one time I did not get in because I was very nervous. I learned a lot. Okay, I've got to do better. I'm not going to be nervous. I'm type of musician that I do show my true music a lot better without competition setting, meaning I do a lot better presentation in concert setting. But I wanted to challenge myself to go through with the competition setting, which I did many times. Out of 13 times, I won 12 times. Some awards were just given as I was nominated or I had a high GPA or something like that. Then they would just give me the award. All the awards and prizes are very precious. But again, music is art. Music is something that you do not impress people only by technical superb abilities. After listening one concert, what remains in my heart is not the performer's perfect technical abilities. It's the music that touches and remains in my heart, even though there will be some minor mistakes, but still, how the performer illustrates music for listeners, that's the one that makes me to remember about the performers. So I tried my best as a musician not to be so focused on prize from competition or awards, but again, I am very thankful for all the organizations that organize competitions and awards because they really do motivate students whether they fail or success.
Yes, I agree. I think that's very well said. You're also on the faculty of not one, but at least 3 famous institutions in Boston, Massachusetts. Tell us about how that happened and tell us all about your teaching in Boston.
I am actually currently officially a professor for the piano and harp at University of Massachusetts, Boston. I was previously also worked many other schools. One include in Eastern Nazarene College, teaching music history, music theory also. Also, Harvard University kindly listed me as a harp instructor since 2010. So for about a decade, I taught some Harvard students through that program. I was very blessed because many students came to me. I was asked to teach both instruments. Some semesters, I would teach about 35 to 100 students. Just 15 minutes, half an hour, they would just register. I started with elementary school teacher and then high school level and became a college professor within a year or two, I believe, after I got my doctorate from Boston University. It's amazing to teach both instruments because I felt now I see why I was trained both instruments. My belief is that I always tell 3 things. One thing is that very important to meet a very good supporter. Let's say it could be your parents, anybody, your friends. They would appreciate your talent in music. At least if you met one lifetime-changing teacher, that's enough. Number 3, I would say performer, himself or herself. My students always this thing that always we all know that turtle beats the rabbit. A person who is a genius can be easily beaten by the one who works hard constantly. However, you can never beat the ones who love what they do. My belief is the love and passion. Whether a hard worker or genius prodigy, they can never be the one who enjoy what they do with all their hearts. So I always ask my students to make their decisions in their lives based on what they want to do. If they love and they have a passion for that, go for it. If not, even though they might have a little bit of talent and willingness of putting the hard work, ending up their life, they won't be happy. So I always advise that. I feel that professors are not supposed to be there just to talk and correct mistakes by words. As a parent, you need to show your children how you live. Children learn by words from parents. They just become who they are by seeing examples of life from parents' lives. So that's how I believe. So I try to show. I try to engage myself as many as concerts possible, actively to be a performer, also write books, teach, and also try to live the way I want to show to my students, to be an example. So one day, when they become teachers, that they will pass the same ideas to the next generation.
Chaerin, those are beautiful ideas and beautifully put. It's a pleasure to speak with an artist, musician who holds these values high. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to this podcast featuring pianist Chaerin Kim on The Classical Station. This has been a production of theclassicalstation.org. WCPE 89.7 FM in Wake Forest, North Carolina. I'm executive producer Elizabeth Elliott. Please visit our website, theclassicalstation.org, and thank you for your support.